Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Thanks a lot for having me here at your hotel room.
Oh, it's a hotel, not really the room. That would be weird if this was the room.
Hotel yard.
On the open area in the first floor, but that's fine.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We are talking today in Toulouse, which is my hometown, because you are on tour with Joe Satriani for the Earth Tour. So you're now in Toulouse for the concert is tomorrow.
Yes.
I will be pleased to see you there tomorrow. So it's a great pleasure for me to see you here and all the band. Brian, if I summarize briefly, sorry for that, because we have to be quick. You're a multi-instrumentist, also known as bass player. You played with the Joe Satriani, the Aristocrats, with Guthrie Govan, Steve Vai also, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and Weasel Zappa. You also have 4 solo albums. And the last one was in 2019, which is called Scenes from the Flood.
Yes.
I just listened to it a few days before. It's actually really good. I loved it a lot.
Thank you.
I heard in another interview that it's a concept album.
It is.
I don't know if you want, we can just start from this.
Yeah, well, it was a concept album. I've always been a big fan of progressive music. I'm a big fan of Pink Floyd, always have been. And even though I've been working in the instrumental, mostly guitar-oriented rock field, and the Aristocrats is kind of the other band I'm in with Marco Minnemann and Guthrie Govan is very kind of rock fusion. I have kind of a part of my heart that's purely progressive, and I wanted to write a concept album that was instrumental music, still guitar-driven, but like that could tell a story that had interweaving themes throughout a double album, a classic progressive double album like The Wall, except mostly without lyrics. So that's a very interesting proposition, I think, to try and accomplish. But I had some themes that I was working with about, what happens, if your plans and your optimism kind of like hit reality, and then you have a big event in your life, which everybody has at some point in their life. And what do you do? What is the result of this in your life? And then what are the lessons for you individually, but also imagine everybody in the world having their own version of this experience, and what does that mean for them? Anyway, these big serious themes that we would never tackle in the Aristocrats, which is of course we're here to have fun with the Aristocrats. So
you had to do this album.
I really wanted to do it. It was based on some very personal experiences that I had, but also some things that I observed in society. The metaphor that I used was a storm, that there was an event that can be cataclysmic, and we all experience it in our lives individually, but also collectively. What would we do in an event like this? How would our humanity react? And would it be good? Would it be bad? Would we learn things about ourselves and each other that we might not want to know? Or, some very kind of complicated themes.
And it's funny to see it was 1 year before COVID.
It was 2019.
Nostradamus is here.
Well, I felt like, Nostradamus is the pun that we use. But I did feel, with some things that were going on in the States and around the world, that something was off. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But it felt like something was off, and I wanted to try and express it. And then COVID happened, and then we had a crazy thing happen in the States with the government, and just all sorts of crazy things happened. And it was just like, wow, here it is. We're experiencing the event that will not leave us the same. That what will we keep and what will we let go? What will we be transformed into as a result of this? So anyway, I wrote all this music for it and tried to do my best with it, and got a lot of people in it. And Joe Satriani was nice enough to guest in the very first real song on the album, Volunteer State. And he contributed guitars and banjos and melody and accompany. He really did all sorts of great things. John Petrucci's on one song, and Guthrie Govan is on the very important kind of album closing ballad. But then my friend, Mike Keneally is on it also. Neely Brosh, another great young guitarist, is on one of the more difficult songs called World Class. And Gene Hoglan, a metal drummer, he's on some of the more, there's 2 really aggressive metal songs on there. And Ray Hearn from Haken, the drummer from Haken, is doing a couple songs, some stuff he doesn't usually do. And then there's like 20 other musicians. So it's this gigantic project that I basically stopped touring for a year to just stay home and write and demo and make this album.
Yeah, there is 18 tracks.
18 tracks, 88 minutes, and It's a double vinyl album, but I think there's only like 15 units left out there. The run is gone.
Okay.
But it's out there if you want to check it out on the streaming services, or obviously if you want to buy a hard copy, there are CDs.
We can just buy it on your website.
You go to bryanbeller.com and it shows you where to go. You can get them in UK, Europe, or the States.
Okay.
So that's my speech about that. But I had planned on kind of bringing that album around the world when I was on tour with the Aristocrats and Joe Satriani, and then COVID happened. Yeah. So now it's because there's nothing like a live music tour to help promote music. There's just really nothing like it. So now that I'm in Europe again for the first time since 2020, I'm meeting people and they're finding out about this album for the very first time. Some people who are Joe Satriani fans, of course. They're like, because Joe Satriani doesn't do many guest appearances on other albums. So it's nice that they know about this and some other things. So that was a big part of my life from 2017 when I really started working on the demos until 2019 when I released it, and then of course the lockdown happened, and now here we are.
2 years of production, and I heard that you sang on one track, if I remember well. I just recognize your voice. So,
it's a cover of a very excellent singer-songwriter and guitarist named Janet Fetter.
Okay.
She wrote this song called Angles and Exits from her album This Close, which is a beautiful album. It's kind of obscure, but if you can find it, listen to it. It's on Bandcamp. It's amazing. Janet Fetter, This Close.
I love that track.
It's an amazing song.
Progressive at the end. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song, and it had a special meaning to me, and it was in a perfect place in the sequence in the album and the story. Okay. And so I decided to do it, and it just so happened that if I took her vocal down one octave perfectly, it fits into my 5-note range. Okay. so I did it. It doesn't sound like a singer singing it. It sounds like me. Yeah,
but no, it's really good and very good to listen to. Talking about albums, a new album is scheduled for. Do you work on a new album? Or?
My new album? Yeah. I don't have a solo album in the works right now. No. That's going to have to last a while.
You're quite busy.
But I'm working on a new Aristocrats album.
Okay.
That's taking up a lot of my time right now.
The other project with
Guthrie Govan on guitar and Marco Miniman on drums. We've been a band since 2011, and this will be our 5th studio album. We also have 3 live albums, and I feel like, it's such a cliche to say, I feel like this is our best work, but I really, really feel that way. And we're taking more time to make this album than we've taken to make any other album. We've made all the other ones really fast. This one, we're going to take months. Okay. We already tracked most of it in California in January. We're working on the mixes now. I was just having a conversation literally 20 minutes ago with the guy doing the artwork. It's a very exciting kind of again, this is actually also a little bit of a concept album, which the Aristocrats have never done.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll see how it turns out, but the Aristocrats are going to be on tour in mostly non-EU parts of Europe in June. We're going to be in the UK and Switzerland. Portugal's EU, will be there, but Bulgaria, Israel, Italy, and Greece.
Deutschland, no? Deutschland too, or
no? Not on this tour.
Okay.
Then in October and November, we're coming back and we're going to do all of Europe on the ground. We'll do Benelux, Deutschland, a lot of Italy, a lot of France, Spain, just the whole continent. Finland, very Sweden, everywhere.
Okay. Yeah. So the Aristocrats is your second main project. Yeah. You also tour with Joe Satriani, as I said. Before talking about that, I just wanted to know when and how was your first contact with the bass? I don't know if this is the first instrument you took or not.
I was a piano player first.
Okay. Didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. When I was young, I took classical piano lessons, and then I joined the orchestra and played the big upright bass.
Oh, yeah.
Then I didn't want to do that anymore, and I switched to electric at age 13, which is late, really, to start. And then I didn't play it seriously until I got to Berklee College of Music, which was when I was 17. So I really did start late. And a lot of the people in my genre have really started playing when they were very young and practiced forever and ever and ever when they were kids. I didn't do that. I had to play catch up. I never thought that I would end up in a genre where it was all instrumental virtuosity. That was not where I really was designed to go. I was just going to be in a blues rock band. But then suddenly I ended up in Dweezil Zappa's band as my first gig, and then I met all these other guitarists.
1993, yeah, that's it.
And then next thing I knew, I was like playing with all these guitarists who were virtuosos, and that became my life.
Okay, so it was quite quick, I guess, for this
It
part.
was, yeah.
Then I saw that you passed some auditions with Steve Vai. There is one you missed, another you succeeded in.
Well, I auditioned for the very first G3 tour.
Yeah, okay.
And it's crazy to think about now, but it was just me and Philip Bino when we were both very young.
Okay.
I was especially young. I was 25 and he was probably 29.
Okay.
And I was, of course, very confident and cocky like a kid. And Mike Mangini was the drummer. And, you know, this is very obscure, but Mike Mangini and Philip Bino had been playing together for years already in Boston in an old band called the Rick Berlin Band, which most people have never heard of, and some other things there. So it made sense that, of course, that, you know, he had more experience than me too. He was older, but I was still, of course, very disappointed that I didn't get that gig. It was a big gig. But I ended up working at a bass amplifier company at that point to make money. And I learned a lot about business and about life, and it's really helped me in our work with the Aristocrats, because I was the manager of the band for many years. I don't do that anymore. But I just learned a lot about business and managing, and it was very good for me. And then eventually, I did get to have another audition with Steve 11 years later. And this one I won. It was against maybe like a lot of other people, so that felt good. But I mean, there's plenty of work for everybody. Philip has played with Steve forever. I got to play with Steve for a little while. I'm playing with Joe. We all, it's everybody's working. So, it's good.
And you were known in the for bass guitar, and you're excellent at it. About let's talk about again about your solo album. I want to know how do you compose? What is the magic recipe? I know every artist has one, but do you start with a riff on the bass? Do you start with piano, I guess? Perhaps you still play piano? Or?
It really starts with the title of the song.
Okay, first time I hear
need
that.
to know, I want to know what I'm writing about. Like, I think there's how a lot of people will just write a riff, or they'll write a line or a bass line or a piano part, and they just write a song, and then they got to figure out what the title is because there's no lyrics. So like, and I'm not saying anybody in particular does this, but you know, someone would be like, all right, I named this song Peanut Butter and Jelly because I was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich after I was done doing it. And it's like, I don't think that's a good idea. I want to know emotionally and somewhat spiritually, what is the context that I'm writing into the song. So like a song like Bunkistan on my album, that is the feeling of like being in the tour bus in an overnight bunk. You know, you're driving in some road, probably in Europe. There's this going on the whole time. And, you know, you're probably missing or communicating with the sweetheart of your life. And if you think about that, that is the experience of almost everybody who goes on tour. So you've got these bunks and like, you know, everybody's on their devices. They're having their little private private moment. I'll think of the word before the interview's over. But everyone's having their private moment. And so, you know, of course, that's like the oldest sentiment in the world in a way. Like every blues song is like, I'm on the road, I'm missing my girl. I mean, like, you know, it's, you know, whatever. But there was a specific feeling and vibe about this cruising on this isolated chamber. And so when I knew that the song was called that and what it was about, then I could think,
rhythm part.
It's just like a trance-like groove with some very pretty textures and sounds over the top of it. Can be maybe a little bit of pathos in there, some empathy, some major minor switches. That's what happens. If I'm writing a song called The Storm, which is about a cataclysmic event in somebody's life, then, you know, that's different. Okay, so, and even a song like Volunteer State, which is the first song on the album, like that's a very optimistic song because I know the context that I was writing it inside was starting a new part of your life. You're filled with all sorts of ideas and plans that you wanted to accomplish, and you know, you're just very like, well, here we go. And that's a vibe too. I want to know what these things are before I start writing. And then if I start writing on bass or keyboard or guitar, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what instrument.
This emotion, you want to transcribe it. It's very interesting. The first time hearing that, so the question is very interesting. When did you start playing with Joe? Just to summarize the first contact. 2013
was the first time I played with Joe. So literally, the first show I ever played with Joe was 10 years ago, like on May 18, it was just the 10-year anniversary just happened.
Okay.
It was on the Unstoppable Momentum tour. The first Europe was the first leg, and I got the gig because Mike Keneally, my dear friend, referred me to Joe when he was looking for a bass player.
Okay.
And I'm just glad that it worked out.
Yeah.
It turns out that the Joe Satriani gig was the gig that I was always not destined, but like correct for in this genre. I mean, it's great playing with Mike Keneally and Steve Vai, and there's so many great guitarists that I've played with. I've been very fortunate. Guthrie is just ridiculous. And that's another side of me. That's the wild side of me and the kind of fun side of me. But in terms of being in somebody else's artistry, because for the Aristocrats, we write our own material.
Yeah. Okay.
In terms of being in someone else's artistry in this genre, Joe's material has more space and more of a melodic sense which is why I think he's so popular, than many of the other artists in our genre. It's not to anyone else's detriment. It's just that's what Joe really focuses on. And it's easy to listen to a Joe song and just be like, oh, okay, well, that's a simple song. But there's such incredible depth to these simple songs. And when you play them, you discover new, parts, areas, little nooks and crannies to explore.
Yeah.
It just continues to surprise. I'm still learning things about Summer Song 10 years later. Sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Like about what kind of sound to use, how it interacts when we're playing with two guitars versus guitar and keyboards. There's just a never end because I'm so focused about sound always. Always. I'm a fanatic about sound. Not so much about practicing technique, but about sound. I am absolutely maniacally focused.
You're still searching for your sound, or
no?
Or
not the sound, but sounds that are right for the songs.
Okay.
And Joe does the same thing. And we've had conversations about how we monitor and about how to get the most sound out of the note that you're getting, the high gain monitoring concept. And we've had just a lot of deep discussions about this, about how we approach it when we're playing live, how we're in the studio. And it turns out that we think alike about a lot of these things. But more than anything, there's more room on groove. There's more focus on groove and texture and emotion and tone, which means there's more, and less of a focus on pure fireworks with the techniques, which fits my bass playing perfectly.
Okay, that's
I can play fast to a degree. I'm never going to be Billy Sheehan or Victor Wooten. I just never trained to be that kind of bass player. But I can deliver a tone and a groove and hopefully what's appropriate for the song. And it turns out that that's all Joe Satriani is interested in. I mean, sometimes there's little fast runs, but he's not here to to walk on the high wire on the 50th story. He's here to deliver an emotional, melodic message.
Okay.
And then if I can step into that space and provide the right bass sound and the right bass line, the right feel and groove and tone for that, then it's like all I ever wanted to do.
It's related to what you talked before.
And that's how I look at my own solo work anyway. It's always about the sounds and the melodies for the emotion that I'm trying to convey.
Okay.
And I think that's why on the progressive world, I was always a little bit more interested in Pink Floyd, even though some people would say maybe they're not totally progressive, than say, Genesis. I like Genesis, and I'm a huge Yes fan, by the way. I love Yes. But there's something really emotional about the compositional and sonic nature of what Pink Floyd does. That's why they're so popular, because they connect with so many different people. So, and I think that that's what Joe does in a way in the instrumental guitar, rock guitar genre, is that he touches people's emotions.
Okay, you quoted a lot Pink Floyd and other interviews too. I thought this is a big part of your influence.
It is, it is. And it's, again, it's about it's about David Gilmour's guitar playing, the amazing sound and emotion in it, but also about the angst that Roger Waters brings to his melodic and lyric content and his conceptual content. It was and of course Nick and Richard were great too, but it was really the marriage of those two energies that made that band so amazing. Okay. And the combination of the light and the dark, really, in a way. And you can do a lot with that.
Yeah, with the contrast, okay. Let's talk about best practice now, if you want. That's as I told you before, it's a common question I ask to a lot of musicians.
This is a very, very short answer.
You know, for us amateur guitarists or bassists, it's really good to hear your advice or your practice routine or how you work before or for rehearsals or before a concert. The first question is, what is your practice routine, if you have one?
I do not have.
You just play songs.
I just play songs.
Okay.
And I only learned techniques through playing songs.
Okay.
I was somewhere between lazy and disinterested in practicing technique only for technique's sake. Okay. To my detriment, I learned as I had to catch up to some of these amazing players that I was playing with. But it is honest that I never was solely focused on what some call extended technique. I really just wanted to play songs. That was it.
Yeah.
I was just as happy playing a Led Zeppelin or a Pink Floyd bass line as anything.
Okay.
I didn't need to do the more complicated stuff. So when I'm playing a song now and I come across a technique that I don't know, I'll learn it. Okay. If I can't learn it, I'll tell them to call somebody else.
Okay. Oh, okay. Simple as
that. Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there who have really worked on this crazy stuff. Okay. And if the song calls for that, then I invite them to go find one of the people who did that.
Yeah, that's very honest. Oh, okay. So
but as far as before the show, I don't warm up.
Okay.
And I don't have calluses to maintain on my finger at all.
Okay.
Because I play really lightly, and this goes back to the way that I monitor.
Okay.
I really believe that the lighter that you play, that the more tone comes out. And in order to accomplish that, you have to create a gain structure in your chain of sound that is correct for that. That takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
a lot of work.
I can understand that, yeah.
But the end result is you play light, your wrists are never tense, your fingers, you don't avoid injury completely here, and you don't have to maintain calluses.
Yeah, okay, because that's the very important part. So for us guitarists, it's quite hard.
I know, for bassists, a lot of bassists have to do it too, but not me.
Okay, interesting. To your point of view, if you want to ask, to give the most important advice for a beginner bassist who want to make a career, I guess, in music, what is your main advice? You know,
you have to do the work no matter what. You have to learn some degree of music theory, learn the basics of your instrument, learn your neck, and that. There's so many tools out there now compared to when I was growing up. It's just, there's no excuse for not learning all that stuff. So everybody can do that. I think the most important thing that I would say though is to make sure that you're really playing what you love, because that's always going to be the stuff that you do the best anyway. You know, don't fall into the trap of thinking, okay, in order to be a real musician, I have to play only jazz, or if I want to be a rock musician, I have to play only blues or only metal or only that's the should part of it. You just got to take away. Find out what makes you passionate, what makes you want to play music in the first place, the whole reason why you wanted to pick up an instrument, and just run towards those things as fast as you can.
And you will be better at it. Because, okay. Another question about, we all reach, I guess, for amateurs actually, but demotivational plateau. You know, when you are practicing the instrument at some point, you said, okay, I don't know what to learn more. Have you an advice for that to go beyond this plateau and to discover new things?
Well, then it's time to listen to some new music.
Okay.
But still stuff that you think that you would like, but also, if you can, play with different people.
Okay.
That will really turn your brain upside down quickly.
Okay. It's better to be a bedroom player, like we said.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that now because of the nature of our society. But if you play with different people, you will learn different things about yourself and about your playing.
Okay. Quick question too. What is your definition of a very nice bass part in a song? Quite complicated, quite general, but
you know, it's so general that it's kind of impossible to answer. But I would just say that the song will always tell you what to do.
Okay. Song driven. Again,
so whatever you know, if it enhances the song, that could be tonally, groove wise. You know, so many different things. But As long as it makes the song work better,
It's
that's the only requirement.
Okay, yeah, it's song driven too, so
Yeah.
Okay. It's about collaborating with other artists. If you picked one, not most important, but one collaboration you have in mind, which was one of the most important, or just you remember the best on stage or with the musician? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's all
a lot, I guess.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. You know, I don't want to pick a favorite, but
do you have any best moment on stage? I don't know when.
Oh God, you know, there's been so, yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, I love some of the stuff, some of the Death Clock shows were some of the most fun things I ever did.
Okay.
Some of the things with Mike Keneally were the most experimental moments that worked ever on a stage. With Steve Vai, we were playing such difficult material and it was working. With Joe, it's like these jams that we have every night. In addition to the material, there is this open space before Cool Number 9 where anything can happen. It's really great. And with the Aristocrats, the idea that you can write your own music and then have people like Marco and Guthrie play it and then be able to actually tour as your own band and have like, you know, hundreds of people in Madrid, for example, like screaming the melody back at you. That's a very, very heady thing.
Okay.
So it's not just one thing.
Okay. Well, quickly, if you want, about bass gear or amps, etc. What is the brand of guitar you're using the most, for example?
This is Michael. This is kind of a long answer. There's no way to answer this quickly.
Okay.
So I would just say that I use Micro basses primarily.
Okay.
But I also use some Spectre basses at home for recording.
Yeah.
And the Micro basses, I just feel like they're the best feeling, best sounding, modern boutique versions of some of the classic Fender style things.
Okay.
But I also have a straight up Fender Mexican P bass that I use for part of Joe's gig because that's basically with a maple fingerboard, because that's Joe's bass that he's had forever, is a Fender P bass, 1973 Fender P bass with a jazz neck with a maple fingerboard. And like that's the bass he played on Surfing. You know, when we played his own bass parts, that classic Joe Satriani clean picked bass sound. You know, he has a sound. And then on his demos, it's clear when he's using it. So I went out and got that bass just to do that. But mostly Mike Lowell stuff. And for amplification, it's Gallion Kruger. You know, you know, they make the GK MB Fusion preamp. I love that preamp. No matter what else I have, maybe I have different power or speakers depending on the backline, but I always have that preamp. And then for pedals, you know, I have a lot of pedals.
So that's
Yeah. And it's, the Exotic Effects BB preamp is my main overdrive. I have a Dunlop bass wah. And then I also
TC too. What's
that?
TC Electronics too.
Yeah, I have some TC.
So a flashback.
There's a but that's actually not on my board right now. The reverb and the reverb is there, but the delay is off. I also use a Boss good old DD3, the white one. And I have a chorus, a good old Boss CE2B from the 80s. You know, it's a great pedal. And then I have I have a couple of really important Dunlop 6-band EQs. One of them goes with one of the overdrives. I also have a dark glass vintage microtubes that goes with one of the EQs. There's also a Digitech bass driver for a different kind of drive.
You had the MXR, I guess I saw on your board one time. No, MXR 6-band.
Two of them. Two of them.
Which is great.
And there's a Demeter Opto Compulator, which is a compressor I always have on. I use the Exotic Effects EP booster to level. Also the dark glass harmonic, harmonic booster. God, there's so many things. So like I said, it's a long conversation because there's a really specific purpose for every single thing on that board, and there's 16 pedals on there.
Just to conclude about the gear, you know there is a lot big topic between analog versus digital. What do you think about it? Do you use both of the worlds or?
Well. I think I tend to be using more analog stuff. Like even my power amps are not Class D power amps. They're the big old toroidal transformers. And the pedals are the old-fashioned pedals. They're not multi-processor pedals. So I'm just used to it. Yeah.
So, both of the worlds is good.
I mean, when I'm home recording at home, I use in the box, you know, plugins for the Neve 1073 and the UA 1176. That's all. I don't have any outboard gear at all. Nothing. And like that's the stuff that I used to record the entire Elephants of Mars album. And it sounds really good, I think. So I'm not a slave to must be all analog outboard gear.
Okay.
I'm just talking about my live setup. I think there are some things about the immediacy of like a good old-fashioned analog pedal that some of the digital multi-effects will never really have right for bass. For bass.
For bass
for
especially,
guitar, it's different
Depends,
story. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Brian, that's perfect. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Just to conclude the interview, if we want to follow your work and to follow you and buy albums, etc., so you said bryanbeller.com.
Yeah, bryanbeller.com. It's BRYANBELLER.com. But also on Facebook, I am Bryan Beller Bass.
Okay.
On Instagram, I am also Bryan Beller Bass, I believe.
Yeah, I guess so.
And on Twitter, I'm just Bryan Beller.
I saw
And I don't have a TikTok. Sorry.
Shame. And for the Aristocrats too, we have
Aristocrats is the-aristocrats-band.com. And on Instagram, I believe it's Aristocrats Band, but there's also a The Aristocrats Band out there. It's a
I will
different
put
band.
the links in the description, of course.
Yeah.
You
It's
know
hard,
that.
it's hard to remember.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, I think it's Aristocrats Band also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Brian.
All right,
It was a
thank you.
pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
See, wish you a good day,
Appreciate
good day
it.
off, and
Yes.
see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will
How do you
see
say
you.
it? Bonne nuit?
Yeah, bonne nuit. Oh, bonne nuit is good.
Bonne nuit,
Very
yes,
good.
bonne
À demain
Yeah.
for the show.
Oh, yes.
With the Joe.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Brian.
Merci beaucoup.
That was very
All right,
good.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.